My name is Isaac Taylor. I'm with Taylor Ranch in Payson, Utah. And my father bought his first Arabian when he was 16 years old, an Arabian stallion in California. And we always had one or two horses growing up, always Arabians. But he got bigger into the Arabians in about 1989 when he bought a few mares. And then we were lucky enough to have Muscat and Ariadne and Aladdin, some of the breed's greatest stallions when I was growing up. And our farm at the biggest point had about 150 horses. We have about 50 now. And we have anywhere from 5 to 10 foals a year, usually. The beauty and the intelligence is the biggest thing, I think. They have something, the look in their eye that other horses don't have. And I don't know how to really describe it, but they're smarter. Not a particular story, really. It's being able to see generations of a breeding program come together over 30 years, and being able to remember a great-great-grandmother of a foal that is born, and then see that foal grow up and produce itself, and being able to hopefully play a part in the perfection of the Arabian horse, which doesn't exist, but that's what we're all striving for, is to breed that perfect horse. So just seeing each generation go as we breed farther and farther down the line is very rewarding. So for me, part of the allure of the Arabian horse is its history, and knowing that people have been breeding purebred Arabians for thousands of years, and pedigree is important. It's something that most other breeds of horses, even if they have pedigrees, they can't trace back to the desert. And Arabians are able to do that. They're able to trace back hundreds of years, and records of other breeders through the centuries shows me that it's something that's important, to be able to keep the pedigrees and know what kind of horse you're breeding. So pedigree purity and pedigree recording for me is the #1 reason for registering. Absolutely. I think any breeder, I think, has a responsibility to the history of the breed to register their horses and to keep track of their parentage and what they're doing with them breeding-wise. That obviously technology has advanced greatly over the last 10 or 15 years, and that's allowed us personally to be able to do some things that we're not able to do before. With Muscat and Ariadne and Aladdin, we had frozen semen. It wasn't really a high quality semen because of how old they were and when it was frozen. But the ICSI procedure has allowed us to breed those stallions to mares that they never would have been able to be bred to, and to bring back some of the structure and things that I think have been lost over the last 10 or 15 years. So I'm pleased and excited to be able to use those stallions onto more contemporary mares and then breed their foals. We just had our first foals from those 4 and 5 year old babies that we produced with the ICSI this year, and we're really, really excited with what they've produced. So. My dad has always said, first breed the horse that you like, because you have to feed it. So don't breed what somebody else tells you they like. Breed what you like first, and then get the best that you possibly can afford to start with, and continue to go up from there in your quality. Always start with the best that you can, and breed to the best that you can, and don't reinvent the wheel either. There are plenty of breeders that have been breeding for decades that have established breeding programs. Pick that style of horse that you like and build on what they've already done. You don't need to make the same mistakes that they made 30 years ago. For me, the breeding is the most addicting part of the whole horses. I enjoy showing, I enjoy riding, I enjoy all of that, but the unknown commodity of what you might be able to produce when you pick a stallion and a mare and you have a lot invested into it, to see what comes out is the most exciting, for me, adrenaline-filled part. the time invested, the money invested, for us, generations of horses invested into it. So that's, for me, the most addicting part of horses. I think there's definitely some environmental factors that can play into how a horse turns out. Obviously, if it's not fed properly, then it might not be as big as it could have been. But I do think that genetically that doesn't change. So, for example, the horse that maybe was stunted because it wasn't fed properly as a baby still should produce the size that's in its pedigree, not necessarily the size that that individual is because of its environment. So I think that they play a role hand in hand usually. But for me, the genetics doesn't change. The genetics are there regardless, and the best environment possible to help the horse succeed is what we try to provide for it. But I think that that's somewhat minimal as far as the outcome of what the horse ends up being. The genetics is what backs up great horses. I think as far as for new people, I would just recommend that you study. There's so much information out there. Learn conformation, learn pedigrees, and do as much research as you can before you breed your first horse. Because too oftentimes I think that new people jump in and they see it and they want to do it, and they don't understand the why of this horse came out this way, or why 3 generations down a trait comes through that they weren't expecting, because they haven't studied to know what has gone in genetically to making that horse. So I just recommend that conformation and pedigrees, you can never study them too much.